Welcome to Innovation Tech Communities, yet another session. And this session is going to be focusing on generative AI and all the other aspects of Gen AI. So we have our expert speaker here, Mr. Lalit Rawat. A little introduction about him. He's an Microsoft MVP. He's also an architect, and he has a lot of experience public speaking, and I'm sure that this session is going to be this session is going to rock. So by any point of time, if you have anything to ask, if you have any queries, if you have any questions, please drop them in the comment section, and he will be responding to them shortly. So over to you, Lalit.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you, Ajay, for the warm welcome. So, first of all, I would just say sorry because I do not have any PPTs due to some technical challenges. But let me just share my experience around Gen AI. I'm Lalit Rawat. I'm a Microsoft MVP and organizer for multiple communities event around Azure. I'm a mentor, author of three books, and I do mentor a lot of peoples around the globe. That's about me, right? And let's just say when we think about Gen AI, so the security prospects comes first because a generative AI means you are going to generate some things around it, right? For that, you would need a data, right? Data can be anything, and it could be very critical. It could be like if you have some things which is around a financial healthcare, or probably your some rough data or customer data which you are going to taking from multiple sources, and then you're churning it, and then you just want some prompts around it, right? So how all of those things can be secure, and that's where the generative AI for security comes into the place, right? So in generative AI, in terms of we talk about generative AI and how you're going to secure your data and everything's right. Whenever you wanted to secure your data, the first things comes that whether your data is encrypted or not, right? Whether what kind of the data you're going to churn, right? How your network is going to be secure, right? Then if you're going and planning some things to build some solutions around it, you would also need to get that considerations around the let's just say network components, network securities, and all of those things will comes into the place, right? So when you think about the security, whether you are using virtual network or the private endpoint, which is you're integrating with your storage accounts where you're getting the data, your storage account is encrypted or not, right? There is a deepfake related stuff which is going on, right? How are you going to avoid that? There are network related stuffs which is going to be key considerations, right? There are multiple aspects around that. Then you'll also have to think through your customer and your client, that what kind of the environment or what kind of the data which they are giving, right? What kind of the solutions they are going to build. Either they are building some report out of some data, or whether they just wanted to churn it for the customer prospect to understand whether which clients to post, right? They just wanted to use it for transformations and all, right? That's where the data and AI comes in together, right? So how you're going to secure that prospect, right? Then once you build an architecture, let's just say you have an applications, right? Or which connects to your OpenAI, right? How this connectivity make works, right? Between OpenAI and your applications, whether you are using a private endpoint, then you are using an Azure firewall, right? And then VNet, which has been integrated to that particular applications, right? How your APIs is going to be integrated, right? What data you wanted to send, whether which API you wanted to allow or not. So all of those things will be a key considerations around the generative AI. And probably if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat and let's be more interactive sessions around it, right? The second part comes in, I have hearing the lot of questions when I will go and talk to the customers and client, that you guys are talking about a lot of generative AI and all of those things, right? Then how the other stuffs. So there is a responsible AI, right? Will make sure if anything is goes wrong, probably that responsible AI help you to alert on that, right? So that is also, so there are multiple things which is there. Then you also think through how your TLS you are using. It says 1.0 to 2.0, how you're going to secure your domain, right? That is also there. Then in terms of what kind of the storage account you are going to use, whether it is integrated with VNet or not, there are multiple aspects which you can put into the GenAI and security, right? That is the first aspects. Then if we can think around the your applications which you're going to develop, right? The approach which you should have as an SDLC, which is a software development life cycle, right? That you can also use that. First, you're going to analyze your applications. Then you're going to, based on that analysis, whether what kind of the services you're going to use, what kind of the data you are going to use, right? What kind of the applications which you're going to build, what kind of the report and all of those things which you're going to get in, right? Once you have that end-to-end analysis, right, then you're going in planning your services that you're going to integrate. So in OpenAI is the one services, then there is a responsible AI, there is a face recognition AI, AI, then there's chatbot as well, because the chat GPT use the same. They have created the chatbot, and in the back end they have this OpenAI model which runs through LLM and all of those things, where they train the data and they'll give you the results, right? So the same way, what data you are going to train in initial days, whether your compliance, so you'll also have to take care of the compliance part, whether your company is compliance, right? And all of those things will be the key consideration whenever you are thinking in and around securing and Gen AI. Once you met your all the compliance requirement, all the products and everything's in a line, right? Then you start building up that particular applications, or probably let's just say an architecture design. So once you build the architecture design, you will be first building the landing zone, and then you're thinking that this particular OpenAI services which you're going to use can be integrated to a private endpoint. The like so I'll tell you my audience, like if you don't know the private endpoint, which probably connects one service to another privately using the private IP rather than going publicly and get that connected. So that is be that could be the key criteria around your solutions. Then whether you're using hub and spoke model, where you'll have a firewall, you'll have a VPN gateway and all of those things, and all your API services will be from multiple spokes is connecting to hub, and where you're using firewall and then sending out. That could be the one aspects as well, right? The data which the APIs is calling, that what specific data they are calling, right? It should not be, we are not giving them as an anonymous access. So, right, how you're going to restrict the authentication and the authorizations around it, right? So that is an bigger things. You can always use the RBAC rule, road-based access control, and probably you can control the multiple steps in around, right? So that is the one aspect. Once you build your architecture and everything, now you're going to build the applications, right? So whatever the components you design in your architecture, you're going to build that. So when you start your build, right, you might be use Terraform and all of those things, and make sure that all the endpoints integration, infrastructure services are aligned to your architecture, right? Once that is done, right, you start building it up, and then the operations will start. So when the operations will start, how you're going to manage, because security will be considered in all the phases. It's not one phase where you're building and it is secure. So building, architecting, and planning the security can be key considerations because you are going to build some services where you're training your data, which could be anything, right? And when you deal with any specific client, which is financial, healthcare, government, and all of those things, you should be very, very careful and use the compliance against it and met that, right? So that could be the one use case which I was, I was, talking you. Once you build your environment, the operations will start, and operations team has a more responsibilities because till building you can might be use some of those things or might miss some things, but when you are doing an operations, if you're not monitoring or upgrading your code or upgrading your applications and services and integrating it as and when the maintenance it's required, right? If someone hits or if someone finds a loophole, right, they're going to enter into your organization and stealing your data, right? So make sure that the operations team responsibilities comes into the place, and that's where you'll just go and operationalize properly. Once that is done, right, you're going to optimize, right? How you're going to reduce the cost while optimizing your resources, and then you can see the consumptions based on that, how you wanted to put your solutions around it, what are the resources will be high consumed, how you're going to reduce this cost and all of those things, right? So these are the 4 or 5 cycles which each cycle will have to think through whether your the solutions which you're going to building for open AI or generative AI, whether it is secure or not. If it is not, what could be the approach? For the different client, there will be a different approach, right? So you'll make sure which client you're dealing with. If you're dealing with the finance, healthcare, because they'll have their mobile number, right? They'll have all of those things and card details and everything's there. Once that data goes out, will be these things. And we are like, if you can see, like we are also hearing there are multiple data has been stolen. I was reading the story around 2 days back. There are a bunch of companies. I don't just don't want to take the name, but there are big companies where the data has been stolen, including the Aadhaar card. We heard it in news, right? So how those things are going, like their environment might not be secure, or the hacker who is hacking that particular data are more advanced than you, right? So you will also have to think proactively to make sure where and all you lock your house so no one can steal, right? So that's where you'll go and secure your OpenAI, right, or the generative AI. There are multiple aspects. There are multiple software. There are multiple services around the Microsoft Azure. You can go and then try that. Microsoft also launch and OpenAI Studio for developer. They can grab that licenses in free and then try that out. So if you can, think through, there are they also launch it called Copilot, right? The services, but make sure if you are using any of those services, right, you should not supply something which is confidential, right? So the second part comes as a confidential data, right? That could lead you to a specific, right? That could lead you to specific actions as well, because no one wants to lose their confidential data, right? So you can segregate whenever you're training your OpenAI or GenAI models. You can segregate the data which you wanted to train. I would always say this: start with the small, which is not impacted, and see whether your model is working or not. If not, then you should not go and train the large models. But I have seen many companies like they just get that open AI, they are just trying everything, anything and everything, and then later saying, no, 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 my data is compromised, right? Or someone is hacked. It's not that. So whenever you are using OpenAI, we think how you are going to secure the things, what are you going to do, what certain of data you are going to train, what kind of the result you want. So all of that, the security is not only it's not a job to do on your product. It's a mindset. You'll have to build your mindset around the securities that will also help you in professionally and personally, even in your product. Because when you start seeing the problem, right, then you can easily identify the solutions for it before your product is launched. But if you don't see that problem or the challenge and say everything will be secure by Azure or whatever the GenAI provider, then that's not true. Why? Because they will provide the services, the solutions which you are going to build. They'll say, I provide the services, the solutions which you build, I will not be responsible. So make they are the service provider, they are the product provider. On top of that infrastructure, we are going to build some solutions for OpenAI or generative AI, right? And that's where we'll have to make sure that we are using all the components into the right manner. And that's where the I always say is the mindset for that and how it will help you in personally because there are multiple cases and you might heard that someone has sent a link and you click on that link and then it's some of those money is gone and it's happened live, right? So you should also be aware of that, right? So that will help you in personally as well that you should not be clicking on some of those things. Whereas bank accounts mean kind of people will try on that and linked to you know unauthorized applications and all of those things, which will lead to financial crisis for you. So don't do that because it's all about mindset that how you want it to go, what you wanted to go, what you wanted to achieve, and all of those things. That probably, if anyone has any questions, probably I would be answer your questions in terms of generative AI and security. That is some things which I feel it's really really important whenever you're building any product on the Gen AI. The thought process should be how you're going to secure the generative AI, the data, and what data you are going to train, what are the things you have to work, and all of those stuff. Right? So these things will help you to build your or secure your these things. Apart from that, if you're going and storing your data into the SQL, right? There are some attacks around the SQL injections, right? How are you going to secure that? Okay. There are probably some DDoS attack as well. That will be how you're going to secure that. So it's not only to secure the OpenAI or GenAI, but secure the whole infrastructure around the generative AI. So when someone is trying to, you know, get into your house, they should not get into your house. It should locked from everywhere, right? And whenever you are training the data, make sure there should be a specific considerations. The data should be encrypted in all the motions, right? Rest in motion, and whenever you're storing. So that could be the one because it can be any of those three stages people can try and get out of it. So these are the some things which is the key point which I just wanted to highlight and probably I'll rest my sessions here. If you guys has any questions query I will answer your questions.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lalit. So when talking about security and data stealing, right? So I've recently been asked about this question where people in the big shopping malls, for example, they will be asking for your mobile numbers and your addresses, and they will ask these kind of information from you. So how do you see that, and how to protect our own private information?
I would, first of all, I suggest that not to, come into that considerations whether you will be a lucky guy to get the lucky draw, because nothing comes free, right? So, so that is the first part, and that's a mindset when, especially in this human being, when they'll see it's free, they'll just go and click it, and that's where the spammers try to do that.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So don't think that something comes free. When they'll ask it is free, you ask them, are you giving do are you giving these things right now? No, they'll say draw. They'll say I'm not going to share my details, because they are collecting your data, they are collecting your mobile number, they are collecting your name, they are collecting your date of birth, they are collecting your financial data, right? They are collecting your professionals. So I generally do not share all of those. Initially, I do also have shared, but in the same incident, I got some 100 calls around a month. I'll say like what I have done, and they'll call you for the promotion, that saying that sir, we are calling you and some resorts and all of those things. They waste your time like anything. So please don't give those numbers, because as a human being, we are only giving them the authority to steal our data. So it's a mindset that don't do that. Rather than tell them politely, like I'm not interested, and you'll go and enjoy somewhere. That's the way you can just avoid all of those things.
Yeah, okay. So that's
Hope that
great.
answers.
And we had a few questions, even before this session started. So I've noted a few. So, okay, let me give you. So, how does GenA handle this, multimodal data, just like, the videos and text, apart from the
Yeah.
image? I mean, not the text, videos and the images. How does that?
Yeah, video and the images, right? So for both, they'll have a microservices, right? If you can say, if you have a videos, like videos and images, right?
Yep.
Uh, So let's just say how Netflix is running its systems, right? They are launching multiple movies, pictures, and everything. Now, if you can take that example, they have a videos and everything. Now, if you have that kind of data, video and images, so what their architecture or any architecture would be, right? They'll be creating two different set of applications where they will have a storage account for videos and images, right? They're calling specific API to grab the image and videos, right? That is one. But when you talk about in terms of generative AI, right? There is separate APIs for videos, and there is a separate services as well, where you can use that one to churn the data around the video. So there's a different product. I just missed that name. And then for images as well, how you're going to churn the data, whether you are just reading the image or the facial expressions. So there is a facial expressions, facial related APIs is also there. So they have multiple APIs, right? For video is a separate one, for images is a separate one. Then how you're going to read that, whether you wanted to read the content of the image, whether you wanted to read the face of the images, and what data you needed from the video, right? So you're extracting the content. So OpenAI is a big term, but there are microservices around it. And if you wanted to, if you can use that one, yes, that will definitely help to integrate the multiple services. And OpenAI is just a one term where all of those microservices can be integrated. And that's what I told you in my architecture. This thing that what components, certain needs you need for a specific product, you can use that. And that's how you can handle it.
Okay, that's great. And here is one of the the topic, not particular question. Actually, is asking if how do you see? these Gen AIs, LLMs, and all these AI stuff going through, how will that affect the employment opportunities as a developer? He's asking. So that is kind of big question. So
Yeah,
I'm also waiting for your answer on this. Yeah.
thank you. Like it's been the questions we ask in every meetup which we do. So that's a great question. So as and when, like I would say, in terms of careers, yes, it is boost your career. Though even you are a developer, or let's just say it's Gen AI or OpenAI is not a one services. It's a whole platform, similarly to Azure or whatever the cloud provider, right? Because in that have multiple services, and then as a developer, you are going to develop those things. But if you wanted to make a career around it, I would say start learning small and understanding the concepts that what generative AI do, what are the face APIs, what are the video API, and the small components. So you try to learn and understand the component first. Don't go in a pace, right? That you need to cover everything in one day. That is not possible at all, right? So once your component and the basics are clear, if they have been very vast, they will be launching hundred of services. That basics and that understanding of your component will help you to grab this much as fast as you can, right? And that's where, and the career growth is really good because it's a buzz in the market. People are trying out the various solutions. There are multiple products around it. For a developer, yes, obviously, who can develop that applications, right? So obviously, the developer has the high chance in terms of and then career growth. But not only the developer, the infrastructure guy will also have around it, because who is going to build that applications for you, who is going to build that infrastructure for you, and then the developer comes in and build that, right? So it's not for that, but you have to identify what is your core specific area which you wanted to learn. There are multiple core areas, right? There might be your company might ask to build a chatbot based on your ChatGPT 4 or OpenAI, right? There are high chances your customer ask, they have a clinical stuff, and then I just wanted to analyze the patient data before they comes into clinic, right? You can do that, these things, right? Or there are banking services which they just wanted to make sure that when their clients comes in, they'll do the auto check in, the query which they are asking our employee can be self. If not, then only they'll come, right? So all of those things you'll have to think through, and then that that is the pretty much growth, because every company wants in Gen AI and they wanted to integrate. And we are the integrator, the developer, infrastructure, and all the people, they are the integrator and help them. So career growth is pretty high.
Thanks, Lalit. So adding on to what Lalit said, so if you are worried about your, losing a job, I would say that, instead of questioning this, you should also accept and, learn new technologies, and you just have to upskill yourself, that you're not going
That,
to lose your job. Yeah.
so your job is going to transform,
Yeah.
right?
True.
You are not going to lose your job. It is going to transform to one position to another position. So I always says that, right, when there is a desktop, so people said the desktop will go and laptop will come, right? When there is a laptop, tablet came, the people say laptop will go and tablet will come. But they are just transforming. The hardware is the same. So they're just launching the new services, but you're building your applications, either you'll build in the full stack or Python, right? Or some other tool. For that you need that skills. But how you're going to put into the OpenAI, you'll have to understand that how that LLM model works, how the services needs to be connected. I'm not saying you have to change your developing skills 100% to next one. It's not that. will have to integrate, understand that how that model will read, how that application will work in OpenAI environment, right? That's where your responsibility comes. Because if you cannot be integrator or you cannot be a quick learner, there might be a chance that you might be, get some difficulties, but obviously you are not going to get, your job is going out. Because I have seen many developer coder, including me, right? If I need any help, I'll go and ask in, OpenAI forum or Microsoft Winge and all. I'll get that answer quickly and everything. But once I get it, it's our responsibility to rectify. We don't know from what data they have been trained, right? If you just copy paste, you might be, it doesn't work. So just they have the fear, but it's just making your job easy. It helps you to transform. So take it easy, busy. Don't take too much of stress about the job. So even people are working in data centers, though even cloud is there. Okay. And no one is going to lose the job. Only the
True.
people, the companies who has the data center in house, that all are shifted to the Microsoft data centers and people get job there. So it's just a transformation, nothing else. I'll take it in that
No.
way.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Lalit. Thank you so much for that. So, guys, this session, the entire session is recorded, and the recorded link will be shared by the end of today. And I will also pin that in the comment section. So, I guess we are done with the comments, I guess. So, thank you so much for joining with us, Lalit. It was a wonderful session. I guess it was like an, on a conversation going. So, we had a lot of questions also. So thanks for making time to attend this session. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, we can, catch up in the upcoming sessions as well.
Sure. And thank you so much, Ajhar and the whole team for providing that opportunity. You guys are really doing great. And it's been really great questions being asked. You guys can connect me on LinkedIn if you need anything, or we will meet in one or another event. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Sure. Thank you, Lalit. Bye bye. Thanks, guys, for joining. Have a good day, everyone. Bye bye.
Have a good day. Bye.